He left. But why is your heart still there? Why does his absence still echo louder than your own voice? Why do you feel so small every time his name passes through your thoughts, even in silence? Why are you still checking your phone? Still holding your breath when a memory flashes by? Is this love? Or is this emotional entanglement disguised as love? You tried to move on. You told yourself you were over it. But deep down, something still clings. Something invisible, something that refuses to let go. And no matter how many times you repeat, "I'm fine," you know you're not. Not really. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." What if the pain you're carrying isn't about him at all? What if it's something much deeper, something far older, something living quietly in your psyche, waiting to be seen? This video is not here to give you generic advice. It's not here to tell you to just move on. It's here to give you the map back to yourself. Not by forgetting him, but by releasing the part of you that still believes you needed him to feel whole. If you stay until the end, you won't just stop hurting. You'll understand why the hurt existed in the first place. And that understanding, that clarity, can set you free in a way no apology, no closure, no second chance ever could. So, if you're still holding on, even just a little, this is where we begin. What if I told you that the reason you can't let go isn't weakness? That the pain you're carrying, the thoughts you can't quiet, the constant loop of what if and why me, they're not signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs that something old, something deep inside of you, has been touched. Carl Jung taught us that the ego part of you that thinks, plans, reacts is only the surface. Beneath that lies something far more powerful, the unconscious. And it is there, not in logic, not in willpower, where your attachment begins. You may think you're hurting because of who he was or what he did, but your pain didn't start the day he left. It started long before that. Unrequited love doesn't just hurt because it's disappointing. It hurts because it reactivates something ancient inside of you. The wound of abandonment, the fear of being forgotten, the ache of feeling like you were never fully chosen, not as a partner, not as a child, not even as yourself. When someone you love pulls away, and you find yourself spiraling, overthinking, overgiving, begging, clinging, it's not desperation. It's survival. You're not chasing him. You're chasing a sense of self you feel you lost when he walked away. This is what Jung would call the activation of a psychic, complex and emotional knot buried in the unconscious, formed in early experiences and reawakened in adult love. Especially for those with an anxious attachment style, romantic loss feels like a loss of identity. You don't just miss the person. You miss who you were when they were with you. You miss the illusion of safety they represented. That's why letting go feels impossible. Because to let go of them would be to face the deeper fear that without them, you are nothing. And that isn't true. But it feels true. Because the part of you that's hurting doesn't know time. The unconscious doesn't distinguish between then and now. It only knows emotion. So, when he left, it wasn't just him walking away. It was your father who didn't stay. It was your mother who couldn't see you. It was every moment you needed love and didn't get it echoing all at once. No one taught you how to hold yourself in that kind of pain. No one told you that it's not your fault if your nervous system still panics at the thought of being alone. No one explained that emotional dependency isn't always a choice. It's a pattern wired into your being when you were too young to protect yourself. And this is where healing begins. Not with shame, not with blaming yourself for still feeling, but with the radical recognition that your pain has a history, and you're not crazy. You're remembering. You're remembering what it felt like to not be seen, to not be heard, to not be held. And this relationship, as painful as it is, simply pulled the cover off what was already there. So no, you're not broken. You're awakening. If you've ever found yourself in this place, caught between wanting to move on and still aching inside, wondering what's wrong with you, please leave a comment that says, "I saw myself in this." You're not alone, not even close. The truth is, the more sensitive, the more emotionally open you are, the more likely these wounds run deep. And that's not something to fix. That's something to honor. Jung believed that the wound is where the light enters, but only if we stop blaming ourselves for being wounded in the first place. This isn't about fault. It's about understanding. It's about turning toward the little voice in you that still feels afraid and telling it, I see you, I hear you, I will not abandon you. Because here's the deeper truth. You're not addicted to him. You're addicted to the feeling of being chosen, of finally mattering, of finally being enough. And until you learn to give that to yourself, your unconscious will keep seeking it in others. So don't fight yourself. Sit with your story. Understand it. Hold it in your hands like something sacred, because it is. And so are you. There's a truth most people don't want to hear. You cannot truly heal if some part of you is still secretly waiting for them to come back. Even if you say you've moved on, even if you cut off contact, deleted the photos, blocked the number, if somewhere in the corners of your mind you still think, maybe one day, maybe they'll change, maybe they'll realize what they lost, then you are still holding on. Carl Jung said, what you do not confront will return as fate. Hope, when rooted in reality, can be a powerful force. But when it becomes untethered from truth, when it becomes fantasy, it morphs into something destructive. A phantom, a ghost you chase, that only leads you deeper into your own pain. This is what we call phantom hope. It's not the hope that inspires you to grow. It's the hope that keeps you stuck in a story that has already ended. Phantom hope is subtle. It whispers, not shouts. It tells you not to delete the last message thread. It tells you to check their social media, just in case. It tells you to stay available, emotionally or physically, in case they wake up. But here's the brutal truth. Every time you feed that hope, you delay your healing. You reinforce the belief that your peace is still in their hands. And that belief is what chains you. You don't heal by waiting for someone to change. You heal by accepting that they didn't. You heal by grieving the version of the story you hoped for and letting it die. Yes, letting it die. Because part of what hurts so deeply isn't just the persona, it's the dream, the imagined future, the what could have been. And that grief is real. You need to mourn it, not suppress it, not spiritualize it, not sugarcoat it. You need to sit with the disappointment, the anger, the powerlessness. Let it move through you like a storm, not because you want to drown in it, but because you finally stopped pretending it wasn't there. That's what emotional adulthood looks like. Jung believed that much of our suffering comes not from the wound itself, but from our refusal to face it. The longer you keep a secret door open in your heart for someone who's already walked away, the more you live divided. Half of you trying to move forward, half of you staring at the past. And that split is exhausting. It drains your energy. It clouds your judgment. It prevents you from seeing the love, the peace, the joy that might already be trying to reach you. But here's what you must understand. Letting go of the hope that they'll come back is not giving up. It's not bitterness. It's not cynicism. It's clarity. It's the moment you realize that your healing has nothing to do with their return, and everything to do with your own return to yourself. You might feel like letting go means they win, but you're not in a battle. This was never a contest. This is a choice. To stop waiting. To stop begging the past to give you what it never gave. To stop bargaining with silence. Because the most radical act of self-love you can ever perform is to stop hoping for someone who hurt you to be the one who heals you. They won't. They can't. That's your work now. And I won't lie, there will be a moment when it feels like letting go will break you. But that moment is not your end. It's your turning point. Because sometimes, the moment you finally give up the idea of them ever coming back is the same moment you come back to yourself. And in that quiet, after the hope dies, something stronger rises in its place. Not resentment, not rage, but resolve, a grounded, unshakable knowing that says, I no longer wait for love, I become it. So let me say this as clearly as I can. Letting go is not weakness. It is the greatest strength you will ever give to yourself. Emotional detachment is not about shutting off your feelings. It's not about pretending you don't care, or forcing yourself to be numb, or deleting every trace of someone and calling that healing. That's emotional suppression. And suppression is not freedom. It's just delayed pain. Carl Jung didn't believe in killing emotions. He believed in transforming them. He taught that emotions are messages from the unconscious symbols waiting to be understood, not silenced. When you suppress, you miss the meaning. But when you observe and redirect, you reclaim your power. Emotional detachment, in its truest form, is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to hold emotion without becoming it, to witness the storm without stepping into it, to feel deeply, but choose consciously. So how do you do that? How do you stop feeding energy into something that keeps draining you? Here's a 3-step technique, simple in form, powerful in practice. Step 1. Observe the emotion as a third party. Name it. The next time you feel triggered, maybe your chest tightens, your heart races, your mind starts spiraling about him. Pause. Don't resist it. Don't shame it. Instead, step back internally and say to yourself, I see you. This is sadness. This is longing. This is anger. This is the fear of being forgotten. When you name a feeling, you create space between you and the feeling. You become the observer, not the reactor. And in that space, you gain choice. Try saying it out loud if you have to. Say it gently, as if you're speaking to a child. Because in many ways, you are. The emotion you feel in the moment is rarely about the moment. It's an echo, an old ache being reawakened. And it needs your presence, not your panic. Step 2. Give the symbol of them back. This step is about imagery, and Jung understood the power of inner symbols more than anyone. Right now, whether you know it or not, you're still carrying an inner image of them. Not just a memory, but a projection, a role, a figure in your internal world. Maybe you still see him as the one who made you feel alive, or safe, or desired, or wanted. Maybe you still replay old conversations. Imagine what you'd say if he reached out, or wonder how he'd respond if he saw you now. But that image, the one you've been rehearsing in your mind, is not him anymore. It's a projection, a relic, a symbol you've kept alive, and it's time to return it. Close your eyes. Visualize him in front of you, not as an enemy, but as a mirror that once showed you something you needed. Say what you need to say. Then, imagine handing that image back to him. You can say it softly in your mind. This was never yours to hold forever. I release you. This isn't about hate. It's about release. Because until you stop carrying his symbol in your imagination, he will continue to influence how you feel in your reality. Step 3. Replace that inner symbol with your full self. The mind doesn't heal in a vacuum. If you let something go, you need to replace it with something new. And what could be more powerful than stepping into the image of who you are becoming? Picture yourself not broken, not abandoned, not empty, but whole, rooted, complete. See yourself walking through the world with clarity, not needing to prove anything, not chasing, not waiting. Feel what it would be like to live from that version of you. The one who doesn't ask, will they come back? But instead says, I have returned to myself. You're no longer the wounded one, defined by their departure. You're the one who creates meaning, chooses peace, and walks forward. This is the archetypal shift Jung describes so often. From victim to creator to liberated soul. You move from the one who was hurt to the one who transforms the hurt, to the one who rises beyond it. That's the path of individuation. That's how you stop leaking energy into a story that no longer serves you. And yes, it takes repetition. It takes daily practice. Your brain has been trained to respond to emotional pain a certain way. Now you're retraining it to respond with presence, not panic. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop handing your power to people who no longer hold space for it. You stop obsessing over whether they still think of you, and start asking, what am I thinking of myself? You stop needing closure from their lips, because you've given yourself the final word. Let it be this: I no longer need to carry the weight of a person who is no longer walking beside me. I will carry myself. I will carry my own heart, and I will do so with grace, because that is the essence of emotional detachment. Not silence, Not numbness, but the quiet, steady return to your center, again and again, until your presence becomes your peace. Your mind isn't obsessed with him because he was perfect. It's obsessed because you've repeated the memory of him over and over again until it became familiar, until it became automatic. The brain doesn't remember truth. It remembers emotion repeated. That's why you find yourself thinking about him first thing in the morning or just before bed. That's why a song, a street, a scent can trigger an entire movie reel in your head. Not because you want to keep hurting, but because your nervous system has gotten used to the pain. When something painful happens, the mind searches for meaning. But when it doesn't get closure, it keeps replaying the same memory, hoping this time you'll understand it differently. That loop isn't clarity. It's self-hypnosis. You're not remembering him. You're reinforcing a pattern. Every time you indulge the fantasy, the regret, the what if, you are reactivating the exact emotional state you are trying to escape. And here's the truth. You don't need more memories. You need a pattern interrupt. To take back the power of your mind, you have to teach your brain something new, something unfamiliar, something that says this is not the past. This is now. Start with your environment. If you keep living in the same physical and emotional landscape that you shared with them, you are inviting memory into every corner of your day. Rearrange your space. Move the furniture. Change the scent of your room. Get rid of things that carry energetic residue. This doesn't have to be dramatic. Even small shifts send a signal to your nervous system. This is a new chapter, and I am in control. Next, speak out loud. Yes, speak. Because thought alone won't interrupt the loop. You need a sensory override. The next time your mind pulls you back into a memory, stop, breathe, and say clearly and calmly, "That is the past. I do not live there anymore." Say it as many times as it takes. Not like a command, like a reminder, like someone gently waking up a part of you that forgot it could move on. Words carry energy, and the spoken word can shift the unconscious in ways silent thought cannot. Then, turn inward. Breath, not the shallow kind that keeps you anxious, but the deep kind, the grounding kind. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Do this when you feel the memories coming back. Do this when your chest tightens with longing. Breath is the doorway back to presence. Pair this with observation. Meditation, not as a performance, but as a practice of noticing. Notice the thought. Notice the memory. And instead of chasing it, just label it. That's a thought. That's a memory. That's not who I am today. You are not your memories. You are the awareness having them. Finally, write. Not to relive, to release. Journaling is one of the most direct ways to take the energy out of your mind and put it somewhere safe. Write about what hurts, what you miss, what you wish you could say. Then close the notebook and walk away. You've given the memory a home outside your body. That's healing, because the truth is, you don't owe your past a lifetime of loyalty. You owe yourself a life that's still ahead of you. Yes, your mind will try to pull you back. That's what minds do. But you are not your mind. You are the one who can choose what to feed it. And if you want peace, you must feed it presence. New experiences, new words, new stories. You are not trying to erase the past. You're just done letting it write your present. So when the memory shows up again, because it will, don't panic. Don't punish yourself. Just breathe, speak, and choose again. Say, I remember, but I no longer relive. I release. And if you're ready, truly ready to take back your mental sovereignty, to stop being a prisoner of what was, to start becoming the author of what will be, then this is your moment. This is where it shifts. Let it begin. Let it be yours. And if that speaks to you, if something in your chest just softened, leave a fire emoji in the comments. Not for me, for you. As a declaration that this is the day you reclaim your mind. Love, according to Carl Jung, is not about possession. It's not about ownership, control, or even permanence. It's about reflection. It's about meeting yourself through anatha, especially the parts of you you've forgotten, denied, or disowned. Jung believed that romantic love, in its rawest form, is the psyche's attempt to find wholeness. We fall in love not with a person, but with the projection of something we've lost inside ourselves. Something we want back, something we hope they will give us. Not always consciously, but deeply, undeniably. That's why love can feel like coming home. And that's also why it can hurt like hell when it ends. Because we're not just losing them. We're losing access to a part of ourselves we believed they held. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people who hurt us the most are often the ones who illuminate our deepest wounds. They trigger what was already there. Your abandonment wound didn't begin when he walked away. It began long before, maybe when you were a child. Maybe when you first felt invisible, or not enough, or too much. He just stirred the pot. He just pulled the thread. And that's not to excuse his actions. It's not to minimize your pain. It's to give that pain context, because pain without meaning turns into shame. When you see heartbreak through the lens of reflection, something begins to shift. You stop asking, "Why did he do this to me?" And you begin asking, "What part of me has been waiting to be seen?" That's the gift. Not the love story, not the ending, but the mirror. He mirrored your longing. He mirrored your fear. He mirrored your hope. And in that mirror, you caught a glimpse of something sacred, your unmet self. Jung called this the path to individuation, the journey from fragmentation to wholeness, from chasing completion in others to finding it in yourself. So no, you don't have to thank him because he was good to you. You thank him because he revealed what still hurt. And once you saw it, you could no longer unsee it. That awareness is the beginning of liberation. Gratitude in this sense isn't about rekindling connection. It's about reclaiming your story. You're not saying, "Come back." You're saying, "Thank you for showing me where I lost myself, and goodbye." Because the real healing doesn't happen when they apologize. It happens when you call your energy back. You don't have to let them go. That implies you're still holding on. What you need to do is call back the parts of yourself you handed to them. Your worth, your joy, your power, your voice. You may not realize it, but at some point in that relationship, you gave them a part of your identity. You believed you were valuable because they said you were. You felt beautiful because they looked at you a certain way. You felt secure because they stayed. And now that they're gone, you feel like those parts left with them. But they didn't. They were never theirs to begin with. You simply forgot they were yours. And now, piece by piece, you get to take them back. This is what Jung meant when he said love is a path to wholeness. It brings the unconscious into the light. It makes the unseen visible. It cracks open the illusion that someone else is the source of your peace. Because they never were. They were the mirror. But you are the light. It's tempting to stay in the pain, to replay the hurt, to define the entire experience by how it ended. But the question is not, why did he leave? The question is, what did I find in myself through loving him? If you can answer that honestly, gently, you are already free. Because the truth is, you didn't lose yourself when he left. You just stopped looking inward. You outsourced your wholeness. And now you're remembering. You're remembering that you were never meant to be completed. You were meant to be awakened. That's what love did. It broke you open not to destroy you, but to return you. To your edges. To your voice. To your soul. So when you think of him now, don't ask for him back. Ask for your attention back. Ask for your energy back. And most of all, ask for your self-trust back. Because what you seek was never outside of you. It was simply waiting for you to stop looking through him and start looking at you. That is the work. And that is the gift. So if there's anything left to say, let it be this. Thank you for showing me the wound, but I no longer need your presence to heal it. You were the mirror, but I am the reflection. And I choose to walk forward whole, not because of you, but finally, despite you. You don't need love to be whole. You need yourself. Not the version of you that begged to be chosen. Not the one who waited by the phone. Not the one who confused attention with affection or silence with safety. You need the you who remembers. Who remembers that your value was never up for negotiation. Who remembers that your worth doesn't increase when someone stays, and it doesn't decrease when someone leaves? Because if heartbreak teaches us anything, it's this: you can lose someone and still find yourself. In fact, sometimes it's in the very absence of love from another that you finally begin to offer it to yourself. This is not about bouncing back, not about proving your strength or showing the world you're over it. It's about something quieter, something deeper, something more sacred. It's about choosing yourself again. For so long, you gave your best to someone else. Your attention, your care, your softness, your time. You loved them with the kind of depth you rarely gave yourself. But what if you turned that love inward? What if you became the person you wished they had been? What if, instead of asking, "Why didn't they love me right?" you asked, "How can I love myself better now?" This is not just healing. It's rebirth. You stop chasing closure because you realize your peace was never on the other side of someone else's understanding. You stop rehearsing old conversations because you'd rather listen to the voice you silenced inside you for too long. You stop blaming yourself for not being enough and start asking how you can be more present for the parts of you that have always been waiting. You become the one who stays, the one who listens, the one who forgives. Not to forget what happened, but to remember who you are. Becoming whole again isn't about arriving. It's about returning. Returning to the you who existed before the ache. Returning to the stillness underneath the storm. Returning to the simple, honest truth. You don't need someone else to come back to feel complete. You just need to come back to yourself. This isn't a performance. You don't have to smile if you don't feel like smiling. You don't have to be strong every minute of every day. You just have to be honest. If you're still hurting, say that. If you still miss them, own that. If you're still learning how to let go, be gentle about that. Healing doesn't mean never looking back. It means knowing you can look back without wanting to go there anymore. So start where you are, with the tenderness, with the tiredness, with the courage that still trembles a little. Start by asking yourself each day, what would someone who truly loves me do right now? And then do that. Take a walk. Say no. Say yes. Rest. Write. Laugh again, even if your voice cracks. Cry again, if that's what clears space. There's no right way. There's only your way. And every time you choose yourself, every time you come back to your own breath, your own rhythm, your own needs, you are being reborn, not as someone new, but as someone true. This is your second chance. Not at love, at living. So here's what I want you to know as you step out of the wreckage, as you dust off the pieces of who you thought you had to be. You were never truly abandoned. You were being returned to your voice, to your fire, to your truth, to the person who doesn't need to be chosen because she's already decided to choose herself. Let that be the story now. Let that be the love you never lose. You've just walked through something powerful. Not just a video, a mirror that showed you the truth not about him, but about you. You began this journey as someone in pain, someone trying to understand, someone who, for a moment, may have felt lost in the ache. But look where you are now. You are no longer the victim of the story. You are the one who sees clearly. You are the one who chooses. You've moved from asking why it happened to understanding what it revealed, from holding on to letting go, from needing them to reclaiming you. And this is just the beginning, because healing isn't a one-time event. It's a path. And every time you choose to listen a little deeper, to feel a little more honestly, to act a little more from truth than fear, you are walking that path. So if something in you stirred today, if a part of your heart softened or cracked open or quietly said, "That's me," don't let the journey stop here. Stay with it. Let this be the moment you chose yourself. Not just once, not just for today, but again, and again, and again. And if this message resonated, if it helped you feel less alone, more seen, more grounded, then subscribe. Not just to the channel, but to the next chapter of your life. And if someone you know is still hurting, still holding on, still believing they have to suffer alone, share this with them. You never know what a single moment of truth can awaken. Thank you for being here. Your healing matters, and I'm honored to walk this part of the road with you.